avoiding it.
But let's talk about the Browns for 1 second.
Yeah.
There are grades and there are reports and there are analysis that come across every day from our
because there's nothing else. There's no real news in the NFL right now, so you got to have
generate
these things. Yeah.
And the 33rd team, and one writer in particular, Dan Pizzari, wrote his off-season grades thus far for each AFC team.
By the way, is there anybody that works at the 33rd team that anybody's heard? And it's no effect. Like, this guy might be a great writer. I'm not disparaging him. I'm just saying every time we do an article for the 33rd team, it's somebody I've never heard of before. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
And again, he may be the smartest football guy on the planet. I don't know.
They do. I mean, like Matt Castle, the former quarterback, works. They have a couple guys who definitely have some more presence throughout the league.
Did Matt Castle get a bag from Kansas City?
He did, yes. He did.
What the hell were they thinking?
Well,
so he graded.
Tom Brady had went down. He went.
I remember
us with the Patriots, and then
he won 10 games, but did not make the playoffs.
They didn't make the playoffs.
They did not make the playoffs that year.
The Patriots didn't.
No, they were 10-6 that year and did not make the playoffs.
Well, that same thing happened with the Browns one of them years.
That's
they were
right.
10-6 and didn't make it.
So they gave out grades based on the offseason moves thus far, and I'm not sure.
These grades are not how good the team is total. It's
no, it's just their offseason moves. Just their offseason moves.
Does it include subtractions?
It says all offseason moves.
Is there explanation, or is it just?
Nope, it was just a tweet. So we're gonna have to make. Yeah,
that's lame to not have an
what
explanation, but okay.
I'll show you every team in the AFC in a sec, but we'll start with the Browns.
Yeah.
Steve, take it full. They gave the Browns a C- on their early offseason moves. Before we get to the rest.
Offseason's over, basically.
Before we get to the rest of the AFC and the rest of the division.
Yeah.
A C-. Does that seem fair? Too low, too high?
Well, we gave grades.
And no one gave him a C, which is why.
What did I give him? A B-?
Give him a B or B-.
I mean, I think when you cover a team, maybe you tend to be a little biased in their favor.
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Browns had a better offseason than a C-. What do you think, Jason?
I think they probably got dinged for the Judy extension.
Yeah, but that's just money. That's not.
It still counts
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
The Judy, I guess, trade and extension, although they gave up nothing for him. I don't know. Yeah. I certainly would give him a C-. I think I gave him a B or somewhere in the B range.
I gave him a B or B-. I think that's too low. Tyvis?
Yeah, the C- is kind of, it's a little absurd because the thing is, everybody's mad at they didn't make a ton of moves. They re-signed some guys that they wanted to re-sign. But when you look around the roster, they didn't really need to. Outside of the wide receiver position, there was nothing, a really glaring need that you needed. So all your guys is coming back going to be healthy, your key guys. So I don't understand.
I mean, you could argue, if I'm trying to, play the other side of this.
Yeah.
I got the explanation, by the way. There actually was an article. Do you want to hear the explanation?
Well, let me just. Okay, I was going to say you could argue they could have, instead of just bringing back mostly the same guys on the D line, that they could have, gone after somebody better. But go ahead, Mike, yeah.
This is from Dan, and there actually wasn't. The tweet did not include the link, but they did write an article. The Cleveland Browns' biggest, and this is from the article. I'm reading this off my phone.
Okay.
The Cleveland Browns' biggest swing was acquiring Jerry Jeudy on the fifth-year option for 2 late-round picks. This could be a low-risk trial period to see if Jeudy could develop as a number 2 receiver next to Amari Cooper. However, Cleveland then signed him to a 3-year extension, though the exact details remain unclear. To avoid quarterback crisis from last season, Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley were brought in on cheap deals to serve as their second and third quarterbacks on the roster. Bringing back Zadarius Smith might have been the biggest win of the offseason. Defensive depth was also added in Jordan Hicks and Quentin Jefferson. But here's what's still needed. Few of these moves matter if the quarterback play is not good, which is the Browns' reality right now. To a lesser extent, they did something similar with the Jeudy contract to ensure that at least one receiver was locked into the roster for 2025. But Jeudy is disappointed during his career, and Cleveland has already priced in the improvement the team hopes to see from the former first-round pick.
I don't understand what the negative was there. He did.
The quarterback.
I'm not sure how Deshaun Watson has anything to do with offseason.
Right.
This whole thing has no credibility now.
That's what I just said. Like when you look at it,
doesn't make any sense. It's supposed to be about the offseason moves, and his basically bottom line was, we don't know what you're going to get from Watson. Well, I think most of us agree with that.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with this.
Right.
Well, what they did in the offseason.
And in fact, they signed 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. What was he expecting them to do? Get a new starting quarterback? I mean, I don't know I don't understand.
I don't know.
That makes no sense.
No more lists from no-name guys at the 33rd team.
The rest of the AFC North, by the way. So the Browns got a C- as we mentioned.
Yeah.
It was the lowest grade of the AFC. The Steelers got a C, the Bengals a B-, and the Ravens a C+.
How did the Steelers get a C?
Why did the Bengals get a B-?
Let's ignore this list. I'm actually fine with the Bengals B-, but the Steelers should have an A.
Why? Because they got Geno Stone and Von Bell?
And they got
the
two
Bengals
quarterbacks.
got Geno Stone.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
And they got rid of their running back.
Yeah, but I personally like Zach Moss better going forward.
Really?
Going forward, yes. But fine, give the Bengals a C. I don't care. The Steelers deserve an A.
Yeah.
I agree with that statement, too.
C for the Steelers. They went from the worst quarterbacks, or one of the worst quarterback situations in the league, to a mid-tier quarterback situation.
Yeah.
They added Patrick Queen. They added Dante Jackson.
They got worse at wide receiver, but you know they're going to address that in the draft.
Cordero Patterson could
No,
he could relapse.
Well, they signed him for this new kickoff rule,
which they
right?
should have. Smart.
Yeah.
It was smart. I don't know. I don't know why they.
This guy's a dope. No offense.
No offense. You're an idiot. I don't mean to offend you.
But he has no credibility, and we should stop this conversation right now.
Well, I got one more question on this, then we'll move on to the Cavs then. One more question on this, though. So take out the C-, take out the article.
Ignore his entire article, yes.
Do you think, and I hear Earl laughing on the side, because it is funny that I didn't see the article. Had I seen the reasoning for the article?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I was trying to think of the reason why he would give it a C-, just playing devil's advocate. To your point, maybe he thought the depth of the defensive line could have been improved.
He loved the Zadarius Smith move, which is the move I like the least of the Browns move.
He seemed to get
doesn't mean I'm right, but
he knocked points off for the extension, which again isn't really an offseason.
Yeah, I know it doesn't make any sense. The guy's a dope. Go ahead.
So what I was going to ask though. When you look at this in totality, and if you want to include the Judy extension, sure. If you don't want to, you can take it out. Are the Browns a better football team today than they were on January 11th, the day after the playoffs?
Yeah, as long as everybody's healthy.
Well, you can say that about every team.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean.
But they address the biggest need that was.
Yeah, I'd say they're equal or better everywhere.
It depends on Judy.
They're better at wide receiver.
Yes.
I could argue. Well, they're not argue.
You know what?
I'll say they're slightly worse at tight end because they had Harrison Bryant. Now they haven't replaced him.
You know what the biggest thing that we don't talk about?
What?
That could be the biggest impact? The offensive staff.
Or it could be a negative.
It could be.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. To me, that the new offensive staff,
Yeah.
because defensively we seen last year, they switched the staff, or defensive coordinator, I should say,
Yeah.
and boom, it was the biggest difference of the season last year.
Yeah.
And offensively, they switched the staff.
Right. Yeah.
If they come in here and they win more games and the offense actually looks high-powered,
Yeah.
then that would be the biggest move that they made in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean.
Right?
I can't sit here and say definitively they're better than they were last year. I can't. They're better at wide receiver.
That's the only thing you can say.
The rest of the roster is basically the same.
And I just.
Now you can say, well, if Nick Chubb's healthy, but it wasn't like they're
Right.
You're going to get injured guys back.
Right.
So the team on paper right now is better because you get a lot of guys hurt, but I don't know. Again, every single Browns conversation comes back to what is Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
I mean, and then I think about it like the Chiefs are worse than what they were after winning the Super Bowl because they lost their number one corner, but that ain't mean that the Chiefs ain't going to go back and win another Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So